we were just hanging out, building deathmatch weapons for heavy metal, for ICW, for different promotions. Like we were just the crew that they would reach out to, so that we would build their weapons. And then at one point, we were like so good at it that we got so many people like encouraging us that they were like, why don't you just do your own thing? Like, do your own show. That was always in the back of our mind, but the timing of it just never seemed right. And then we just let it happen.
So, on our super last minute notice on the PGTK podcast, recently signed, we have Insane on the episode. How are you?
I'm good, man. How about you? I'm pretty excited to be one of your guests finally in your podcast.
It's been weeks. We were waiting for how that's going to turn out, but you're a mask too. Like, where did this one in particular, like, where did that come from?
Okay, so this one in particular, you can't really see it because I need to turn around and stuff, but it's, this one is, like, personalized because it's, like, Kiss, like, the rock band Kiss.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Kiss fan, and I collect anything that's, where there is, like, mints that's Kiss related. It's a poster, whether it's a plate or an action figure, you name it. If it has the Kiss logo, I'm probably getting it. So when I got this mask, I actually got it because I graduated from AAPW's course.
Okay.
So after my gauntlet, my brother, he gifted me this mask.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, because he knows that I'm a huge fan of Kiss, so he's like got it personalized and made for me, and like it's one of my favorite ones.
Are you like an equal opportunity Kiss guy? Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley. Are you like, or are you more into like the Starman, the cat face, the demon? And
I'm for sure the demon.
Okay,
the demon.
Everyone likes Gene.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
just Gene.
does
Like
that.
something about the guitar, something about the way that he presents himself. Because I even also on my boots, I tribute his style boots, like the dragons.
Yeah.
Like I have two different pairs that are like with like the design of his boots. Like
that's pretty cool.
And like the dragon and all that. I had two different boots.
Yeah,
because of him.
How did that translate into like your how you wrestled too?
I think I see it more as a like how they are. They are like really like showmen.
Okay.
Like for sure. And I like not only like making the people believe, but I want them to like, even after I'm done, I'm just laying there. They're like, wow, okay, this is like legit. So
yeah.
I try to, I feel like my kind of fighting style is like a really like hands-on kind of thing. Like you're if you're going against me, you're gonna feel every like punch, you're gonna feel every closing. I just like getting hit and like hitting back.
Yeah.
Like that's how I like my matches.
And interesting.
So yeah, it just makes me want to make it real, because I have a lot of people that say that, oh, it's fake, blah blah blah. Like no.
They have to see it to believe it. That's what it is.
Step into the ring with me, and we'll see if it's real.
No, and I'm curious because now we're talking with Borracho, and where were you involved in joining them?
Oh man, okay. So to start off with Borracho, I am brothers with Juan, one of the promoters, promoters and bookers for Borracho. It's 6 of us, like a group of 6 people joined together to form the management of Borracho Pro.
Okay.
One of them also being Bradley Mann. And it honestly it all started with Juan and Brad being friends.
Okay.
And at Wrestle Circus, they would sneak in beers, and like that's how they met each other. And then that's actually how they met.
That's cool.
How they met another one, the one Angel. He comes from San Antonio.
Okay.
He didn't sneak beer, but he would always have a flask. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was all those 3 guys
cool.
are always like sneaking in beers and liquor to the retro circus shows and stuff because it was too expensive or whatever. And that's just how they, all three of them met each other. And then eventually, being brother with Juan, I eventually popped in here and there, not to every single show, but they started to like getting familiarized with me. And at the time, I was barely almost starting to train. So Brad found that out too, and he like just took me in as well. And like,
Oh, good.
so we've been friends since then. And then from there, it just happened. Years we were just hanging out, building deathmatch weapons for heavy metal, for ICW, for different promotions. Like we were just the crew that they would reach out to, so that
Okay.
we would build their weapons. And then at one point, we were like so good at it that, and like we got so many people like encouraging us that they were like, why don't you just do your own thing? Like,
Yeah.
do your own show. So we were always like, that was always in the back of our mind, but the timing of it just never seemed right. And then we just let it happen, let it be. I hadn't even started death matches then either, because I'm barely like 3 years now in
Right.
death matches. So this was like probably like 4 or 5 years ago. So my very first death match happened in Indianapolis. And for me, I feel that this trip was the beginning of Borracho Pro, because uh, at least four or five of the ones that are management now actually ended up going with me to that trip, and
Oh,
they enjoyed it as fans. And I was like, it was my first time out as a wrestler out of the state, and it was in a death match, which was also my debut. So I was just completely fresh, and I had these guys behind me. So, uh, but it was still just a group of people. We weren't a promotion yet, and from there, that happened. That went well, that show, and then in that tournament, what's his name? Ruben was also there. Ruben Steele.
oh,
Yes, he
wow.
was also there. And I actually, let me give you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have this. It has the
It's
my
about there.
it has my debut of deathmatch,
Oh, so
and that's that's the back, and then the front is where all the people that were in that tournament, and
oh,
you can
that's
see
cool.
Ruben Steele was somewhere in there too. And it was just like a huge card like of deathmatch workers. So it was like really big deal for me, like
Yeah.
just being the first. Oh, that's for you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So, ooh, I
and
got, I
I
got a memento. Hold on to that. No, no, no.
and so yeah, I feel like that was the start of it. And Ruben Steele was there, and we were driving him around too when he hung out with us, and he knew what we were about here in Texas. So he was like, "Why don't you just do your own thing?" And I think having Ruben tell us about it,
Oh,
like tell
no.
us that, like it really like clicked some ears, because from then from that night, like we just kept on thinking like, what are we gonna do? Like, we need to do something about this. Like,
Mm.
it was even more than it already was, like in our head. So from there, it just it kept on bugging us. And at one point, we were like, let's just do something. And the way we started this promotion, I don't know if not many people know, but
We
it's
do now.
to humble starts. We started this promotion by raffling off a 60-inch TV with
Wow.
with the all the tickets that we sold and everything. We were able to pay for the first show, and then the first show went well, so we were able to have another one, and then another one, another one. But it all started because of a raffle.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask too, like, especially being involved in Borracho, especially with a lot of the logistics, like what were some hurdles that you had to go through to either learn from a mistake or how it improved over time?
For me personally, it's been quite busier for sure, and in a way that like the brother messages or the hey,
Yeah.
people are trying to get booked. Like, and I get it. I was at that point too. Uh, but yeah, it's just everywhere now, and it wasn't in there before because I didn't have that responsibility. But now I'm kind of, I hate to say it like this, but I'm in like the head of the train right now, so I kind of have to deal with it. So
It's just
it's
like you're basically like it's kind of like
it's gonna
there's some
happen.
borders that you have to there's some borders you have to go through.
Yeah, so that's gonna happen, and like, yeah, people want to get booked, and I get it. I did that, so like, I try not to take it like, but yeah, it's funny that I wasn't used to it, or like I never saw it until then. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, okay, yeah, like
Exactly.
oh whoa,
Yeah.
what's going on? So much. But yeah, that's been one. But for me, it's been having that also kind of tells me that I'm doing a good job, and like also that people respect me enough now that
Right.
I'm at that level. So I'm like, it's kind of a good feeling at the same time. So like, it's a big responsibility, and it's we just gotta like keep it steady and like same thing, like never drop it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask too because we've had some. My first show was at one of the first shows, at least that I came through in Borracho, was Grapple Quest.
Oh yeah.
Now I gotta ask you this: when Bradley and Juan were like, "Hey, I have this new event where it's just grapples. It's only." I mean, there will be some there'll be little high flying. Oh, that's the that's the K mass.
Yes.
That's the K mass. There it is. Like when they
I was
gave,
ready.
when they gave you the call and saying, "Hey, we're gonna try this new thing out." Like, what was going through your mind? What? There you go. Look, we had a discussion about that, but we'll talk about that later. But when they called you saying, "Hey, let's go try this new thing out," like, what was going through your mind? And you've done a lot of traditional wrestling matches, but this one in particular, what was going through your mind when you were being part of that?
This one was actually a really cool preparation for me, honestly. I had actually just recently started getting sober at the time for this one, and I kind of saw it. Also, my best friend, he's a Muay Thai fighter and MMA fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, no, he was not MMA. He was about to make his debut.
Okay.
But he was in training camp. So I know how serious boxers and MMA people like take their camps before the fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to replicate that.
Yeah.
So being sober and having that, it was like really nice because I had never had that feeling, but the preparation for it, like it was a good time for me. Like I had fun getting ready for it, and while it happened and everything,
it gave you clarity.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I always wanted to experience that too, like that feeling of getting ready to like kick some ass and get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And then day of the show happens and then that's it, like it's not like that for wrestling. Like for wrestling you just have to be ready 24/7,
right?
But yeah, for me I thought it was a different experience, and I really liked that because I had also done a boxing what's it called, smoker. Oh yeah, boxing smoker.
Okay.
So it was like a 3-round, no judges, no winners, but at the end of my smoker, you could tell who won.
Yeah,
and that was me.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about this. You mentioned preparation. Like, what were some things that you had to get your mind, whether it's in physical shape or getting the mental focus? Like, what were some of those lessons that you had to do facing JP Harlow? Is that the
Yeah,
okay?
JP
JP
Harlow.
Harlow. Yeah,
He was actually a really he was an amazing opponent, and
yeah.
I was supposed to face him in a regular match in at an expo down in Corpus, but that got canceled. And then Brad, he just he still wanted me to wrestle JP, so he was like, "How can I make this happen?" And then WrestleQuest happened, and he was like, "Let me book you against." I'm like, "Let's do it."
It just happened.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
it just worked out well.
Yeah, and how and after the match with JP, of course there is a sign of respect. Like, what was it nice to finally get that match with him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always nice to have a challenge for me, and with JP Harlow, I had no. And this is not to be mean or anything. I didn't know who he was because I don't watch much indie wrestling pretty much.
Yeah.
Or like, actually, I don't watch much wrestling. Like, I
We're
don't
in
know.
Austin. We have like
Yeah, I know. But I hardly ever sit down. If I'm ever watching it, it's like I'm on my phone eating.
Yeah.
And it's like as a background. But yeah, I hadn't gotten a chance to see him work, but then when I was told that I was gonna be working him in that certain match style, so I was like, whoa, okay. First of all, that's different for me because I've never worked in no ropes.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm going with someone that I don't know what their wrestling abilities is. So I was like, I had to get on it and like study him and his work a few, and then based off of that, kind of train my way on around it.
Right.
Like, so if I saw a certain move that he did, I would go and train how to get out of it or how to not even get into it. Like,
yeah.
Like kind of expect the unexpected. So it was like a really interesting, different point of view as I usually see wrestling.
Yeah.
So not even with death matches like that. So it was different for sure, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you, and how did you see the match from a fan perspective? Like, I will be a fan regardless. I just want to see wrestling, whether it's singles or it's a hardcore match or a death match. This was something different from my perspective because of how it's different. That's the only thing. And especially when you face JP during that match, like, what did you see from the crowd as you were doing your thing? Like, what did you see from the fans' perspective? To the fan perspective, they go.
So, to be honest, that day I didn't even, like, during the match, I didn't even think of the crowd. I didn't really, like, even try to focus on them. I was mainly focused on what I was doing in the ring with JP and what I could do better. It was until later on that they had given me the video of it, and I went back and like sat down and studied it after it already happened. I'm like, whoa, like this could have been cool, like, or like you did this cool and I didn't even realize it. Like, I just completely broke it down after like it already happened, and it just amazed me. Because also a lot of the Borracho Pro management that saw that match have told me that that's one of their favorite matches of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't even have to be deathmatch at all. Like, I didn't hurt myself at all. Like, I didn't bleed, and somehow it was just on top of the radars, Like,
yeah.
So that made me think more, and I do want to make some more because I want to try myself out even more. So, yeah, it's just a cool feeling to have that match. Honestly, it's different. So the preparation for it's different, like no other two.
It pays off. Like,
yeah,
you can see the payoff at that point. And then later on, we have Apocalypto that happened last month. And, and as you can see from my shirt, you can see that Dimitri was your partner, and exactly. So one thing I wanted to bring up, and you were posting stuff on your stories, and there's some telling hints on there. And the one thing, it's in June, it's a spoiler, we're gonna bring that up there. Metal Slug was kind of like the inspiration. Like, how did you guys work to get to that theme?
So, Metal Slug was my idea, tributing it. It was my idea. I brought it up to Dimitri, but the funny thing is that when we had agreed to do Metal Slug, we had actually agreed on doing Tarma and I forget the other one, but it's the yellow and the red one,
Yeah.
the classics, red or the yellow. But when I told a couple of people that we were trying to tribute Metal Slug, they all for some reason told me Ruff and Clark. I'm like, whoa,
That works. That's the thing. They're the mainstay characters, guys.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I was thinking Tarma. But everybody just kept on saying Ruff and Clark, Ruff and Clark. I was like, okay, let me see. So I went back and looked at them, and I looked at my closet and see if it was even a possibility to still pull it off in such amount of time. Because I this is how dedicated I am to the tributes.
Yeah.
I bought those shirts 2 days before the show, and they were tan. They were not yellow. They were not red. They were tan. I bought them because that was the only style of shirt that would fit the character, but it just needed a color. So I had to color it myself with the boiling water, that dye syrup thing, the entire process. I did that for both shirts until day of the show. I just told him, I was like, hey, so I actually have everything to do Robin Clark. You want to do that instead? And he said, yeah. So we just completely abandoned my first idea and we pulled out another, like, it just happened. And I'm like, I don't care. As long as I eventually I'm going to pull it off, so I don't care. Like, that didn't bother me.
It was what's needed. That was what's in front of you.
Exactly. So, like, it needed to be done at that moment, and if it honestly feels good that I did it, so I'm not even mad at all that it happened.
No, and I'm gonna ask you because we talked about your deathmatch background too, like when you faced Epi and Arrowboy. And I'm curious, what goes through your mind on a deathmatch? I had Dimitri on before. He has his approach to what a deathmatch is. Like, what goes through your mind when you go through a deathmatch?
So, again, mid-match, not a whole bunch goes through here, honestly.
Yeah. And you could even probably tell. Before you were walking the curtain, like, are you like amping yourself up? You're psyching yourself, like, let's do this ish. Like, is that like kind of like a direction on how to prepare during a match, or you're like just wing it?
No, I think for me it's a set of, and this is how it usually happens. It's not even like how I intended, but it just happens. I show up, especially if it's our show. I'm pretty busy, so I'm not even thinking about my match.
I see.
So I'm like getting ready for the show. This is like 11, 12. I'm putting the ring up, putting curtains up, whatever. I'm not even thinking about my match at all. Time goes by, doors open. I might still be busy.
Okay.
Or if not at the time, I'm probably already getting ready. And that time when I say, like, I get on my space where it's time to change, and when it opens, it somehow feels like, all right, is the clicking, I mean, the opening of the bag is kind of like go time, like, it's the start of it. So I have a whole bunch of raps because I'm already hurt and everything hurts, everything sucks. So I have so much things to put on before I even put a gear on that all that movement and stuff, I'm already warming up and
Yeah.
breaking a little sweat. So by the time I'm fully in gear, I'm pretty much already like kind of warmed up and like pumped up already, thinking about what I'm gonna do. And when it comes to right before the match, I get super nervous. I get like tingly, like when they're making their entrance, I get nervous. And then there's something about when they shut their music down and I know it's my turn to hear mine. It's something about that. It just, same thing, kind of like the opening of the bag.
Yeah.
Is stepping into another level. Like,
Tunnel vision.
It's
Tunnel
straight up.
vision.
Yeah, it's just like we're focusing on this and we're 100% doing this. Like, there's no backing out. We're into it. We're gonna enjoy this.
There you go.
And we're gonna have a lot of fun. So, yeah, it does get me in like really tunnel vision. And like I said, I don't really think much. Like,
because you're going through it.
Yeah,
you're going through it. It's just going through the motions until when you hear the bell, it's like, it's done.
yeah, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? Yes,
Exactly.
it has happened. Yeah, sometimes I lay there, I'm like, oh man, everything hurts.
That's the adrenaline wearing off.
Yeah. I'm like, oh. Especially if I have to, like, if I take a bump on like glass or whatever, and I have to kick out, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's gonna catch up to you somehow.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
and this coming on the 28th. Now, it's not disclosed yet who you're facing.
Right.
With
and I'm
Michi.
still unsure too. They just told me be ready.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a death match, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But they did tell me that it's going to be a tag team.
Okay.
Not,
who knows?
I'm not sure what that means, but
exactly.
sounds like Dimitri is with me in this one, so we'll see what happens.
Exactly. You're just like at the mercy of the booker. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And with Fallout too, like looking back in your journey with Borracho, and if you were in that same room with Insane on the very first show that you've taken part of in Borracho, what would you like to talk to him about?
For the first show of Borracho?
Yeah, like when you were involved in Borracho, if that makes sense. If you were in that same room with him and what you're going through your journey, like what would you like to talk to that person about?
I would absolutely tell him to keep believing in yourself. Because there's been a lot of doubters that laugh when I tell them what I wanted. So, yeah, staying strong, believing in your dreams, it's always a nice reminder, for sure. You're doing this for a reason. Yeah. Pretty much, man. Like, you're in good position where you're at because of the things you've been doing. So keep kicking ass. You can probably even do better. And that's not just for me as Insane. That's literally anyone. I never thought I could make it anywhere. So yeah, why not? Anyone can if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, and there's like nothing left to lose at that point too. And see how that works. And for those who are watching, Fallout will be on July 28th. It will be at Pinball's Lake Creek, which is very, very close to where I'm at.
It really is.
Bell time will be at 3?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So bell time will be at 3. So I'll provide the ticket information in the show notes. But please, Borracho has been a very unique promo that I've watched here in the Austin scene, and for them to be where they're at in this position, and Insane being basically one of the foundations in that promotion. Please do go watch it. But I have nothing left to give. You have the floor. Where can we find you? And if you want to hype up Fallout on the 28th, you have the floor.
Yeah. I actually want to send a shout out to Opie.
Yes,
Opie the bird.
Opie. Oh man, that's a disservice for not mentioning that.
It's like, hey, no, yeah, Opie the bird. I huge shout out to him. He sponsored me and Dimitri for the Fallout.
Oh, nice.
So, thank you so much, man. We appreciate everything that you do. Texas loves you not only Austin. I know you're everywhere, which is crazy here. And I know
He has
like,
a network.
Yes, I'm like, wow,
He might have a network in Houston or something.
He's getting more miles than me, bro.
Exactly.
I'm like, that's sick. Like, yeah. No, but yeah, thank you to Opie. Thank you to Casey and Ram. They've been since day one. They were there when we were raffling that TV. They're still there. They're sponsors sometimes. They're shout out to APW's helped me become who I am. Papa Don, one of my trainers.
Pops. Shout out to Pops.
One of my main trainers, Papa Don for sure. My lucha coach, his name was Wings. Wings Volador. He was from here, Austin, as well. For him, I'm glad I was able to finally get signed because he always believed in me when we were at a backyard training. We started training. Yeah, I started training at a backyard with friends, and when it was just me and him and another guy, he would always tell me, just clear up your character work, but your bones are really good and you eventually do something. And then, like, I didn't get it at the time, but it took years to get that out. Like, the character, and it was his advice. Now I'm a character. Like, if it's not insane, it's someone else, and it's cheerful, you know, it's a character. So I give a lot of props for that too.
Okay.
So, like,
awesome.
Yeah. So anyone, Borracho Pro as well, thank you for having me. PG Project Get to Know.
Yep, there you go.
Right? Just Project Get to Know?
Yep, that's what it is. That's
there we go.
That's the long form for PGTK makes it easier to on Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, thank you for having me again. I would, if you ever want to do a second part, I'm down. Yeah, just thank you.
Yeah. All right, cool. So this will end our episode. If you've been here long enough, it's an interesting conversation. I've met Insane for quite a while, and hearing this side, I've never gotten to have a discussion and conversation with you. So, but for those who are watching, thank you so much for listening for this week's episode. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Be awesome with each other, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the PGTK podcast.
Adios.
Bye, guys.